Hey y'all, and welcome back to another video of My Creative Life with Kel Sweetie, where we read books and we make art. Today we are discussing my book challenge. I started this last year and I was blown away by how many people actually ended up working in it, who actually ended up participating, loving the recommendations, the amount of followers and everything. Honestly, this challenge last year really changed the entire way that I make content, the entire way that I read. It opened up a humongous amount of people from the community. I mean, even the Night Terror magazine, like, this would not have been possible without this challenge. And I am so excited to be doing it all again, and I hope that it's just as big this year, honestly. And I'm really excited to tell you all what I have planned, and that is the I Love Black Horror book challenge. Last year I did this because, honestly, I was getting into horror and I had not been reading any Black authors, and I had not been seeing any. I was following tons of bookstagrammers and booktubers who were saying all of these different horror and weird lit books that they were reading, and none of them were by Black authors. And I was like, I don't like that. So I started the challenge to honestly broaden my bookshelves. And it ended up being, I was kind of just leaving it open. If anybody wants to participate, fine. I wasn't expecting anything. And the way that it took off was out of this world. So I want to talk a little bit about what I have planned this year for the challenge, as well as just talk a bit about, one, how important this challenge has become for me, and how I'm just still blown away by like how it's changed a lot of things for me. So let's get into the intro. I can't wait to tell y'all about it. I can't wait to hear if you guys are going to be participating, whether again this year or for the first time this year. I can't wait. So let's get into the intro. So as I said in the intro, I cannot believe what this challenge to simply try and broaden my own horizons has helped me with, as far as my overall reading, my participation in the horror community, building my community. It has completely changed everything, and I had no idea that that was going to happen when I started and made this challenge last February. I just thought, I've not been reading any Black horror. I've not been reading from any Black literature. I know I'm getting into the genre and nobody's suggesting this, so I'm just going to make this for myself. If anybody joins, if one or two people join, whoa, that'd be great. And it ended up taking off. It became way more than I thought. I found so many new online book friends. That's how me and your spooky mom, Ellie Wade, connected, and she ended up reaching out to me for the Night Terror zine. That time it wasn't called that, and now we're 9 issues in. It's insane. I've been able to interview Tanari Du because of that challenge. I've been able to work with amazing creators. It's insane what that challenge did and what it did to my reading. I was not reading like how I am now, which is mainly really diversifying my shelves, because I was never a big fan of I want to diversify my shelves quote itself. It always felt like not genuine. Basically, I'm just trying to tick off some marks on books that I'm reading. I'm just trying to, make some suggestions so it doesn't seem like I'm only reading by white people. And when some other people would also say, well, I diversify my shelves, it meant they only read Black authors, period. And I just felt like the slogan just wasn't for me. Now, I didn't and that's not why I necessarily made the challenge to only purely check off a list, but honestly, it was because I didn't like that I was only reading white authors. And it wasn't on purpose, it was because that's what I was getting recommended. After doing that, and after loving what I had read so much that month, I continued on into March, and I read nothing but women, authors in horror and speculative fiction. And then April came, and that didn't really have a month to celebrate a heritage and everything. But the following month in May, I continued on to look into AAPI Heritage Month and found chlorine and absolutely loved it, and read The Vegetarian with reading Riley for her book club, and got to talk to her, which was just amazing. And it's been, and throughout the rest of the year, I basically continued the same, and I found so many new books that were really amazing. My bookshelf feels so much more aligned with what my beliefs are, with learning so much more about others and everything, as opposed to what it was kind of looking like before. So I'm so excited to share this with you all. If you're new to what the challenge is, it is basically a month-long book challenge. Every week of February is based around a theme. So I have vampires, witches, monsters, and spirits. Those are the themes surrounding horror. I thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of not just only have slashers or wanting some more witch books. And what I found is that not all subgenres are built the same as far as Black horror is concerned. I could find so many monster books, and mainly monsters of men. Like slashers would be considered monsters, but also if it's the Wolfman, that of course is a monster. Vampires were interesting because during the 90s especially, and I think it was coming off of blaxploitation with Blackula and Ganja and Hess in the 70s, we absolutely were obsessed with vampires, which makes sense because vampires actually started in East Africa. So it's very interesting, like, to kind of see that and how much movie content especially we have surrounding vampires. But when it came to books, it was a little scarce. And then spirits were very interesting because we had plenty of haunting type of books. But then, of course, again, it became a conversation of, is it haunting of people? And it's actually people, or are these actual spirits? You know, those conversations. And witch books, non-existent if you're looking for something that is more horror than fantasy, which was really important to me. I think that, you know, with books like Legendborn and Blood at the Root, which are amazing, especially being in a fantasy. I'm not personally, but if you're into fantasy, I'm sure that representation is amazing. I heard those books are amazing, but being somebody who's like, I want something that feels like Rochelle from The Craft. Can you give me that? And coming up so short, even now, I'm just kind of like, y'all, please just, especially wanting some that aren't YA. I think that there's a huge market for it, and I think that we just haven't gotten greenlit on those stories just yet. So I think it was great learning a lot of that during the challenge last year, and still learning that even this year as I try and find more books to share with you all. But that's the basis of the challenge. It's really easy. I really try to make it as attainable as possible. I don't want to add prompts all over the place and everything. The main goal, and the real only goal, is one, reading Black horror authors. That's the rule. That's basically the only rule. And even if you don't want to participate in every single week's theme, you don't have to. The themes are there to maybe guide you if you want to go a little bit deeper. But if you just chose, no, I'm just reading Black horror authors all month this month, that's literally the only goal. It's that easy. And I wanted it to be easy because I wanted people to realize it really was easy. That you don't have to sit here and like search forever to find good Black horror. I'm putting air quotes around that, or something that connects, or that you need to search far and high, like that it's out there. You know, a lot of people, Tanana Revdu, for instance, she's gotten so much notoriety from last year and the Reformatory. It just, perfect storm. It released when it released. People just really connected with the story in the right amount of time. Tanana Revdu has been leading the charge on Black horror for 3 decades now. She's written vampire novels, she's written alien novels, she's written zombies, she's written anything you could think of, possession stories. The list goes on and on. And it wasn't until last year that she finally hit that stride of mainstream success and became really known as kind of like this, I hate using this analogy, but some of y'all are only going to understand it this way, the Jordan Peele of literature as far as Black horror was concerned. And that's insane because there's so much out there for you to like choose from that she's written. That's a little bit of an intro of what the actual challenge is at its basis. Really, truly, the only rule is read Black horror all month. That's it. That's absolutely it. Now we have our weekly themes, and mainly that's for me and releasing any content, recommendations, things like that, any sort of activities, which we'll be talking about shortly as a new addition to the challenge. But as far as and to kind of guide your reading, if you want that extra challenge of going like, hey, okay, Black horror, but what specifically? Let's read witches this week. Let's read, about vampires this week. Let's read about zombies next week. Let's read about some spirits another week. But that is really the basis of the entire challenge, which is great. I love that. I love that it's really like whatever you want, long as it's written by a Black person and it's horror. This year's challenge. I'm very, very excited. I'm very excited because my main goal this year on all of my platforms was to create more of a community. I love talking to you guys in the comments and everything, and if you follow me over on Instagram, anytime y'all post anything of mine, I always love talking to y'all, DMing y'all, talking about books, trading book recommendations, talking to y'all in the comments. I mean, at the end of the day, this is social media, and I think some people forget that the word social is in the beginning of it. It's not content media. So I think some people get so focused on, let me make a perfect video, let me make perfect content to put out there, and then I never talk to the people I'm giving it to. And my main goal is that I want to find other people who are reading some of the same books I'm reading and giving me recommendations, and we're talking about reviews and authors that we're obsessed about who are releasing something. And did you get this metaphor? I love it. Absolutely love it. And I really want to build more onto that community, especially of people who really don't, and this is one thing that I also really love that I've built, is that it's a community of people who, looking at them, we don't look like horror readers. You come to my page, you go to my Instagram or anything, and it's bright colors and art and everything. And that's not what's associated with horror originally. It's not goth and dark and brooding. And it's because horror is an extremely diverse genre, and I think we're slowly starting to break that stereotype that it's not. But I love building a community of people who are like, yeah, I love horror, and people think that might be weird considering who I am. With that being the main point of this year, I've created a Discord, I've created a book club, as well as made some changes to my Patreon in order to foster more of that community. So if you're not following me on Discord, please make sure that you check the description box down below to go down on join our Discord. We talk about new trailers that have come out from movies and shows that are horror specific. We talk about books that are horror, thriller, weird lit. We talk about, even if you're really into the art stuff side of it and you follow me more so for when Halloween holidays come around and you're into that, we have a section for that. And one thing that is going to be added in this upcoming February, which I'm excited about, is that on those themes that we have week to week, we are also doing watch parties. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while. I'm a little afraid of it, not gonna lie, but we're going to see. I would love to choose a movie for the week and all of us have a watch party around that movie for that theme that we choose. Very, very excited about it. So please follow me over on Instagram if you aren't already, so you stay up to date with that. But also follow us in the Discord. All of this information will be over there. And also, I'm giving away 6 free months of my Patreon right now, where all of this information is going to be available to you, because it's really, my Patreon is where absolutely everything is. So make sure that you're following over there. As for our book club this month, I'm very, very excited, because not only did I already choose what our book club pick will be this upcoming month, which is Flowers from the Void by Gianni Washington. It's a collection of 13 short stories that range from witches to ghosts to slashers to everything in between. I'm super excited to read this, but I'll also be reading it with, and this is the really big thing that I'm really excited about, 4 collaborators. This year's challenge big thing is that I'll be collaborating with 4 other Black horror creators within the space who are reading and are amazing at what they do. It will be Deja from Deja's Book World. It will be Christy from In Love with Horror, Nina from The Wandering Reader, and finally Danny from Danny Reads. All 4 of them are amazing, and they're all very different in how they approach Black horror. Deja, she mainly reads a lot of Black horror that's more looking at it from a societal standpoint. Absolutely love her reviews and recommendations, so make sure you follow her over on her channel. Christy, she's getting into the horror reading space, but what I love is that her and her husband, they have a film channel where they look at all the horror films and they do tons of great insightful reviews and everything, but she's also starting to get into the book space, and I love that. Nina, she's mainly over on Instagram, and she is the vintage paperback queen of all time. She is, I mean, if you even want to start reading horror, she's probably in the top 5 of horror creators online, to be completely honest. And that's it. She's just amazing. She has such amazing recommendations. I hope that my vintage horror paperback shelf will one day be as great as hers is. It probably won't, but it's amazing. And then finally, Danny Reads. Danny mainly looks at a lot of and reads a lot of thriller, but she is into the horror as well. But her thriller is dark, and she's made me really realize that thriller in some ways is just as much as horror. Because of her, I read S.A. Cosby's All the Sinners Bleed, and you can't tell me that book isn't horrific. You cannot tell me that that's not a subgenre of horror, regardless of it being labeled a thriller. So she will be also participating. All of them will be giving recommendations throughout the month. All of them will be participating in our book club, all ending in a book club meeting at the very end of the month where we talk about the book that we read for the pick this upcoming month, and we discuss live whatever questions you guys may have. I think it'll be very interesting to hear all 4 of us who have very different ideas of horror and different reading styles, although reading in the same genre, what our expectations will be from reading the short stories, as well as hearing what your guys' thoughts are. That's a lot. There's a lot going on for this year's challenge, but I'm really excited. Again, I cannot say this enough. I am so focused on building more of a community. I built one off of the challenge last year accidentally, and this year being purposeful. I cannot wait to see what more happens. I also will be doing a shop drop for the challenge this year. Last year, I created some icons that I was just obsessed with, and even back then, I knew that I wanted to make stickers out of it. At that moment, I didn't know how big it was going to get. It was just me drawing, and then I knew that this year I wanted to drop some special stickers just because I wanted them as stickers, to be honest. They are based off of the Vampire Witch and Monster Slasher icons that I had and characters that I had made last year for the challenge. And I plan on using them again this year, but the theme will be, you know, slightly different. Last year I went for a more like vintage Valentine look, and this year I want to go for something that's a little warmer. I'm still kind of moving around like what the theme as far as like the color scheme and all of that will be. I'm thinking something a little bit more like neo soul type, black love type of thing, but like in a very dark, horrific type of way. You'll have to see it when you see it, okay? But the thought is up there. I'm so excited, y'all. I really hope that you are as well. Let me know down in the comments if you guys participated last year, if you actually found my page because of the I Love Black Horror challenge from last year. I would love to know, and let me know if you guys plan on participating. If you're a little stumped on, I don't know where I should start or what I should read and everything, last year I dropped a comprehensive, like an hour and a half long video of me giving recommendations both in movies and in books for Black horror within all 4 of the themes. It was hard. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of searching, but I did it. And I'm hoping that this year I still have recommendations to make, to be honest with you, because of how many that I did. But go check that out if you're wondering where should I start with trying to pick anything or any recommendations. All of that will be so helpful for you if you're trying to find anything, like even the movies and stuff and the shows. It's still great. Just watch and read all month. just black horror. I hope to see y'all in the Discord, in the book club, in the Patreon, in the comments, all of that. Thank y'all so much for watching as always, and subscribe down below if you are looking forward to a whole month of black horror book recommendations and collaborations. I know that I really am so excited for this, so I hope you guys are too. I will see y'all in the next video. Bye!